And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to MBA Waves. My name is Eric Lucrezia, your host of MBA Waves and founder of Candidate Coach. And as always, I'm with my co-host, Bara Sapir. Bara, want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Great to see you all.
And Bara is also founder of City Test Prep and Mindflow.
Yep.
And today on MBA Waves, we have an episode where we are putting a spotlight on William and Mary University in Williamsburg, Virginia. So we are joined by a great group of alumni and a couple of professional staff, and we're going to ask and answer a whole bunch of questions. And if anyone in the audience wants to ask any questions, you just got to post them at the bottom and we'll share them and answer that for you. So we're going to go around the room. Maybe we'll start with my dear friend, Amanda Barth, who is in Williamsburg right now. Amanda, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much, Eric and Bara. Hello, everyone. Greetings from William and Mary. My name is Amanda Barth, and I serve as Assistant Dean of MBA Admissions here at the Raymond A. Mason School of Business. Thank you for the introduction, Eric.
Thanks, Amanda. And next up, also on the professional staff, is Joshua Listig. I'm not sure if I pronounced your name right. Listig?
You got it. Hello, everyone. Glad to be here. I'm the Associate Director of MBA Admissions at William & Mary. I've been working with Amanda and the team for about 4 years now, and a proud 2005 William & Mary alum. So look forward to answering some questions today.
Nice. And before I introduce the alumni who are joining us, who are all, by the way, just freshly graduated, the class of 2022, and big congratulations to everyone. But to make sure all of you stay with us at the end of the episode, because we're going to provide a fee waiver code at the end of the episode, which you can use to apply without paying, right? So let's move to some of the alumni. Up first is Agustin O'Connell.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to pronounce it. I'm Agustin O'Connell. I'm originally from Arizona and Northern Virginia. Like Eric said, I just graduated recently the William Mary MBA in entrepreneurship and marketing, and I'm currently the founder and CEO at STG Visions.
Awesome. Thanks, Agustin. I shall pronounce your name wrong a few more times. Up next, Andrew Morgan.
Nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Andrew. I'm originally from just south of Boston, Massachusetts, and I just graduated, obviously, but I concentrated in finance and will be heading to JP Morgan Chase on the CCB segment in the risk strategy team.
Amazing. Thanks, Andrew. Next, Ikenna Okeke.
Hi, everyone. Originally from Nigeria, came into the US for my MBA at William & Mary. Recently graduated and currently in Redmond, Washington, where I'll be working with Microsoft as a product marketing manager with the Cloud Marketing Business Org. Great to be here.
Thanks, Ikenna. And last but not least, Leah Matthews.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leah. I'm originally from Williamsburg, Virginia, which is where William & Mary is located. I concentrated in finance, graduating this May. And next, I'll be joining McKinsey as an associate consultant.
Thanks, Leah. And sorry for mispronouncing your name.
It's okay.
Even after I was told. All right. So, look, I think it would be great to tell some stories. So, first of all, these episodes usually last about 30 minutes or so. We definitely go over sometimes, and considering how many people we have today, we might definitely go over 30 minutes. So don't hesitate to share. So let's tell some stories. As a recent alum, and whoever wants to speak first, you can kind of just take control of the mic. As a recent alum, what was your favorite memory, most memorable moment, or best experience at William & Mary that you'll treasure forever? Whoever wants to take that first is welcome to.
I would love to go first. There's a lot of events that we had the last 2 years at William & Mary, but my favorite by far was we did an auction / talent show, and the proceeds supported Kids in Grief, which is a nonprofit that helps support children who've recently lost someone. And in the talent show, I really got to see all of our talented classmates, including Ikenna, who's on this call. So we had people who played guitar, sang opera, did a comedic performance. It was just really cool to see all of our fellow classmates doing, other things that they're passionate about that we didn't necessarily get to see during class. So by far, that was my favorite.
What did McKenna do?
Ikenna sang opera.
You sang opera? Oh, I wish we had enough time today for
the whole talent show.
Amazing.
Are you going to sing for us now or what?
I think we can schedule a performance after this call. That'll be fine.
That'd be
We'll
great.
start charging a fee now, Ikenna.
I know.
Ikenna, you'll have to tell the truth that you were invited to sing the Star Spangled Banner at your very own graduation ceremony, and Ikenna delivered the Star Spangled Banner. And you know, William and Mary has a very historic graduation ceremony. We were all incredibly proud of him. He's very talented.
Amazing. Maybe we could put a link on that. We could put a link in.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I recently read that William and Mary is known as the alma mater of the U.S., considering you've had so many famous and important graduates. Like, it wasn't Washington, Hamilton, Jefferson. Like, you got a whole list there. That's great. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll jump in. The question's a little bit trickier for me because I'm a two-time alum. I did my undergrad here at William and Mary, and I'm also a former athlete, which Josh failed to mention he is as well, former Tribe football players. So, you know, most memorable moments for me were probably on the football field or as an athlete. I know Leah was also a college athlete, and that experience can be, you know, life-changing. But in terms of the MBA, I think, you know, the personal experiences that you share, you get a really, really diverse group of people. And for 2 years, you're all going through the same program. You know, it's challenging, it's rigorous. You have to work together through adversity a lot of times. And you develop some really, really strong personal friendships. And those moments of connecting with people and sharing stories, you know, from across the world and all kinds of different backgrounds, lots of military, lots of international students, those were my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah, and just to pile on to what Augie had just said, same. I had exactly the same experience. The thing that really made it for me at William and Mary was the people I got to connect with, my classmates, the faculty, the mentors. They were all wonderful people. I honestly do not think that the MBA would have had the same experience for me if the people weren't great. And I had a unique experience because my first year entirely, I was in Nigeria. So I had to join remotely. And my classmates, my cohorts, my teammates were super accommodating, such that they were able to create more flexibility because I was 6 hours, sometimes 5 hours ahead, just so that I'm able to benefit from the program and put in my own work. So that was really good.
Was that a COVID-related scenario?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And then just some technical issues with securing dates. Just because of COVID, there were limited dates at the embassy and everything. So yeah.
I wish I knew that last week. We had an episode on MBA Waves. We talked about soft skills in 2022. And one of the angles was about how more and more we've shifted to distance learning and working. And yeah, you could probably speak to that very, very much. Anyone else want to share before we jump to the next question?
I'll throw one more in. It kind of goes back to the diverse group we had, but we did a global culture night back in November, which was a lot of fun. So I think it's Amanda and Josh will know better, but I think 30% of our class was international. But it allowed us to learn about where people are from, some of the traditions, culture, what they like to do back home, So it was a great opportunity just to meet people on a more personal level as far as their upbringing. But that was back in November, and we get to, do a little bit of their cuisine if they want to prepare meals from, what they would eat back home. So that is one thing that I will remember forever, but that was back in November.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Joshua, did you want to contribute to this? Because you are not the most recent grad, but you also are someone who went through the program now that it's been 2 years.
The one thing I will say, and the students said it best, it really is about the people. There's a lot of tradition and history at William Mary. We're the second oldest university in America to Harvard, 4 U.S. presidents, public, obviously, the list goes on and on. But I think it's all about holding up those traditions, but adding to them as well. And again, that's the people here and the professionalism you'll get here, but also that intimacy. Each year we bring in about 110 to 120 students. So we're not a super small program, but we're big enough, that you're gonna get to know everyone, but there's also going to be very diverse cohort and diverse thought in the classroom. So just a little bit to add there, but excited to keep the call rolling.
It is all about the people.
Yeah, it is about the people. And what's interesting about what you're all saying is that, when you put a class together, everyone comes together and brings where they came most recently and who they've become up to that moment in time. So I'd love to hear where you all were just before entering the actual program, and what were the main reasons why you did choose your MBA at William and Mary? And it could be popcorn.
I can go first. I got a weird one. I went to law school from 2017 to 2020, focused in corporate law. Obviously, COVID hit March of 2020 and affected our job market. So instead of kind of waiting around for the bar that was postponed to October and job offers were postponed, I inquired about William & Mary's grad program because my parents went there for undergrad, and got a call from Josh the next day. And I kind of just saw it as an opportunity to let the market grow, and it sure did. And to get my second graduate degree, and I'm done now, but it has definitely helped me in different ways than others, I think. But yeah, that is my experience and how I kind of ended up at William & Mary.
Interesting. How about other folks? Where were you right before you started the program, and where did you and what made you choose William & Mary?
I'd like to piggyback off of Andrew just because I also came right from different school. I was an undergrad at William & Mary, like I said. I was studying physics and engineering, and I was planning to launch out and go become an engineer. And similarly, COVID kind of dried up all the internships and the jobs that I had applied for. I was getting a lot of deferrals and things like that on applications. And I had applied at the MBA, while I was an undergrad because it looked like a good opportunity. And I'd kind of seen it as a potential backup per se. And it kind of became my main focus when I realized that the job market was evaporating. And but it was important for me just because coming out of undergrad in a technical degree, I needed some of those business skills that I'd never really had any exposure to, especially as an entrepreneur. That's something I needed to develop about myself.
Yeah, I would imagine business skills and the soft skills that you learn in business school, right? Either formally or informally. And wow, you didn't get a call, but Andrew, you got a call directly from Josh. What a wonderful way to feel welcome into a program, right? It really allows you to feel like you're wanted. And I mean, not that you can always do that with every student, but that's just, it speaks to the program that someone did that.
They might call every student, to be fair.
I have a very, very similar experience. My own was because I knew I wanted to go for my MBA in 2020. I had set that goal for myself when I was done with undergrad in 2014. So I was attending an event in Nigeria, the MBA tour. And 2 weeks to the event, I got an email from Amanda saying that she saw my profile and she thinks that I would be a great fit for William & Mary, and William & Mary would be a great fit for me. I wasn't sure I wanted to go to William & Mary. But during the event, I happened to just go past the room Amanda was presenting, and this enigmatic personality just drew me in. And I was like, if every single person in William & Mary is this way, then I think this is a great school for me. And then I did further research and realized that the program was really robust and built in a way that helped people really evolve and transform themselves into who they think or they're supposed to be, making you a better version of yourself. So yeah, that was my own experience getting in.
Neat. Leah, how about Leah? Leah.
Yeah. Sure. So I mentioned that I grew up in Williamsburg, but I did my undergrad in New York City at Columbia. And so I spent 6 years after graduating at Unilever, a consumer goods company, and I was in all different areas of supply chain. I had always known that I wanted to get my MBA as part of my career progression, and just working full time every day in New York, I never really sat down to take the time to really think about it. And then when COVID hit, I was given a lot more, I guess, the opportunity to reflect on, where I wanted to go. I started researching schools, and I toured William & Mary with Amanda, although I've seen it a million times. I grew up in Williamsburg. I did not actually get to see the business school, which has a little bit of a different feel than some of the undergrad buildings because it's really high tech, beautiful, new. Not to say that the undergrad isn't, but we've got a really special place. And I got to talk to some alum. And after that, I was pretty convinced. But I will add that one more thing that really made me want to go to William & Mary was the international student body. I came from like a city and an undergrad that had an extremely diverse student background, and I know how much I value that in my classes. So I wanted to have that in my grad school program as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So actually, I wanted to ask something that popped into my mind while you were speaking just now, Leah. How many people are in the program on average each year at William & Mary?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. We typically bring in a cohort, as Josh just briefly mentioned, of 110 to 120 MBA candidates. And as everyone has reflected, we spend a lot of time building our global footprint. So we recruit students from all around the world. About 35% of our cohort annually is international, from approximately 20 different countries between the two classes. So we deeply value our global diversity. And again, the cohort is not too small, but not too big. It's just right in terms of the ability to keep it personalized and very intimate.
Sounds a little bit choppy, but hopefully that clears up in a minute. So, okay, not too big, not too small, just the right size. The Goldilocks effect, right? Isn't that called that? All right, so speaking about the MBA program itself, what are some of the standout unique features of the William & Mary MBA in your perspectives? And again, you can go around the room in whatever order you feel like. Well, or
I'll start. I'll just jump right in, because for me, the most important feature was the executive partner program. And I don't think you can get that in any other school, right? The executive partner program is a bunch of business veteran professionals who retired and live in Williamsburg and work with students to groom them, mentor them all through the program and even afterward into becoming the future business leaders that we are supposed to be. I found out to be super, super helpful throughout the program, and I think it's a great feature that the program has.
I'm not sure how the sound was for you guys. A little bit choppy on my end.
Sounds okay for me.
Yeah, it was pretty good for me. I can go next. One of my favorite parts about the William & Mary MBA program was the Batten Fund, which is a student-run fund where we have about over $1 million in endowment that Frank Batten had originally given to William & Mary to start this student-run fund. So you get to learn a lot about investing, and you get to pitch your own stock. So concentrating in finance, I think this was a pretty realistic experience when it comes to valuing companies and a lot of stuff that happens at investment firms. So it was a great experience doing real life investments with real money. And it was great that William & Mary, trusted their student body along with mentors and EPs and the professor to make those decisions.
Gotcha. And who else wanted to respond to that?
I can go or Augie, if you want to go. It doesn't matter to me.
What Leah just said about the Batten Fund kind of reminded me of the Entrepreneurship Center. So again, speaking from the entrepreneurship perspective, we have he's an undergrad faculty member, but also a grad school faculty member named Graham Henshaw, who helped launch his own venture capital firm in Richmond, is very tied into the entrepreneurial and the venture ecosystems in Richmond, in what's known around here as the 757. So geographically around here. And at William & Mary, he's helped launch the Entrepreneurship Center, which comes with its own incubator, pitch competitions and pitching experience, as well as internship opportunities at different venture capital funds. For example, we just did one with Ferguson Corporate Venture Capital, I think back in April. And so similar to Batten Fund, but for entrepreneurship, there's opportunities in venture, starting companies, pitching, and anybody who wants to start a business can get hands-on, experience with real professionals while they're also getting their MBA and doing their coursework. So there's a lot of real world applicable skills that you can learn working for different companies while you're at William & Mary. That's awesome. And also to have that support as an entrepreneur, either somebody who is already one who has already started their company or who's hoping to in the future. It's a topic that's come up a lot on MBA Waves does it make sense to do an MBA if you're seeking entrepreneurship as a career path?
And I think absolutely it does. And if you're starting a company, you need to know how to run all the bits and pieces of a company, just as a multinational does. How to do the finance and the marketing and all that stuff. And I think an MBA gives you a lot of that formal training to refine your knowledge and skill set in that domain. Who else wanted to share?
I guess I'll wrap it up. A little different. I think one of the cool things about William Mary was the military presence. And so I'm from Boston. There is military members, retired and active, but it's not as prominent as it is in Virginia. And so having one military member on each learning team, as we call it, and I think that ranges from 4 to 6 now, depending on how big the class size is. But just to hear about their experiences, and it is kind of crazy that they're doing this, but by doing this, they also have to serve an extra couple of years for each year they're taking classes with us. And so we knew a lot of people that got up and moved to either Kansas or California, all across the world, to serve the country after they kind of took all these fun classes with us. But they saw it as more of like a time to relax and reflect. And so it kind of just makes you see different pathways to the MBA program, but it was nice to hear their experiences and their leadership, because they come from a different background on how they show their skills and expertise.
That's interesting. I guess this goes out to either Amanda or Josh. Is that something that's like an intentional, part of the structure of the MBA, that each year you have, or in each, was it cohort? You have some.
Yes, absolutely, Eric. It's a very intentional part of what we think about in our recruitment strategy. We actually reside in a region in the United States that has the highest concentration of military installations in the country. So we would be a little blind if we weren't recruiting from within our United States military. And we have representation from all branches: Army, Navy, Coast Guards, Marines, and they are fabulous. Many of them do have utilization tours, so service back, as Andrew mentioned, and that's where they will go and engage in complex problem solving for the United States military Department of Defense. So it's a really wonderful component of this program, and many of them are quite globally, culturally competent. They have served abroad in Italy, in Germany, in Afghanistan, and places throughout the world. They are some of the best in terms of nurturing the relationship with our global students. So a great value add to this program.
What a rich opportunity that is. It's a great way to learn strategy, right, from the U.S. military. We actually had an episode about MBAs in the military on MBA Waves almost a year ago. It's been a while. And I was wondering if the people that come to William and Mary who are from military backgrounds, do they usually take that MBA knowledge and go back to the military or stay in the military, or do they pivot out to the private sector more often?
Yes, some of them are transitioning out of our 25 or so military. About 4 to 8 will transition out each season, meaning that they have ended their service and then come into the program. And with that, we have supported a Center for Military Transition. We have a wonderful executive director, Jonathan Dew, who serves all of our military in terms of helping them to think through this big life transition, to help them network with companies who are military friendly, and to figure out what life after service looks like. So there are also, there's an abundance of resources available to transitioning veterans in our program as well. We're very fortunate.
Super cool. Super cool.
It really brings to mind this idea of diversity as being this aspect that you're talking about. It's really quite astounding. I have not heard anything about that. And that also really speaks to the culture at the school, I would imagine. And so I'm curious, we're always talking to students about, finding the right fit, what's going to be good for you. I personally think that diversity is good for everybody, but I'm curious, what is the culture like overall? Not just the military representation, but what is the culture like at the William & Mary school and campus overall? Anyone can answer.
Unless Josh wants to, I can jump in quickly. But I mean,
Right.
I think it varies from class to class, obviously, depending on who the students are. I think our class was, weird in some shape or form, because we all joined during COVID knowing what we were getting ourselves into. But we kind of made up for it. Our first year was very, it wasn't normal compared to others in the past. But when our second year kind of started, we kind of took advantage of all the time that we had missed out on. And so I would say that we are like the most engaging, welcoming, and friendly group. It did not matter who you were, where you're from, what you're going to be doing afterwards. Everyone was looking to help each other, especially during these, tough times with jobs. And you still see it. I mean, like, Ken and I chat all the time, but like the international group has been unbelievable. And I think that any domestic student would help an international student just as much as they would help any other friend. So that's how I would see our class. And I think most people would agree on that, but I'll let them speak.
Yeah, just like Andrew mentioned, I found the culture to be really interesting when I joined, because I did my undergrad in Nigeria, and the structure of learning in Nigeria is very different, vastly different from what I saw in William and Mary. A situation where the faculty are open to listening to you as a student. They have open door policy. They literally invite you to walk into their office whenever you feel necessary to speak with them and chat with them. It was super engaging. And my classmates were just exceptional people. It was like Amanda specifically looked for the admissions team. Amanda and Josh just specifically looked for certain type of people, because it almost felt like we were all cut out of the same bunch. We blended so well. First year was a bit weird because half of the class was remote and half of the class were in person. And because of COVID, we couldn't do a lot of things together. But the second year, it seemed like we've been together for ages, for decades. And we formed this great bond. And I think that carries through with the whole program, because both the faculty and the students have this great synergy. Everyone is welcoming, everyone is warm, everyone is cordial, respectful. And I think it speaks well to how the program entirely is built and structured. That was what I was looking for. I needed something that was more personal, nothing too distant, so a way I can integrate properly and learn, because that's why I would travel 12,000 miles to get an MBA, to have this kind of exchange. And I think I found that in my class and in the program.
William and Mary has a great recruitment team, I've seen. But that's kind of it, right? Handpicking the right people that were going to fit together and complement each other, to teach one another. And that's, again, we come back to, it's all about the people. Who else wants to share about the culture?
I definitely want to add here. I think a lot about William Mary's culture that makes it so great is it really feels like a community that's trying to help each other grow. Everyone, at least it feels like to me, everyone that came there very intentionally to grow and to achieve the next step in their career, not just sort of check a box like, oh, I got my degree and move on, or keep doing whatever they were doing. So in the beginning of our MBA program, our dean had said that it's meant to be a transformative experience. And I think everyone really took that to heart. And at the same time, I feel like it wasn't competitive in a way that other schools might be, where, everyone's still going for very similar jobs here, but everyone's willing to help each other out and give each other tips on interview styles. Everyone wants the best for each other. And I think it might differ a little bit at other places.
Definitely. Some schools are a little bit less collaborative and more competitive, and it makes for a dynamic that can be hard to, you're there getting to know these people, working together, working alongside each other, and very often on group projects that you have to like hit those targets. And yet, if it's kind of cut through competition, it doesn't always have that same feeling. So it sounds like you had a great experience.
Yeah.
Anyone else on culture? Because I thought we could also ask, and again, this is more of an admin question like to Josh and Amanda, but for those who are watching today, who are considering applying to an MBA right now, let's talk a little bit about the admissions process at William & Mary, and like, what are some suggestions you'd like to offer in terms of being a great applicant for William & Mary?
Yeah, Josh, I'll let you chime in first. Go ahead and chime in on what we're looking for in an applicant.
Yep. I think first and foremost, just everyone on the call, Amanda and I are always here to help you. So really, I like to get to know you all, just like a bunch of the graduates on the call said. I or Amanda will personally call you, we'll email with you to answer all your questions, to talk about the program. So we definitely want people that are, competitive, that want to get their MBA, that want to continue to grow and professionally in their lives, and be in an environment that will really push that and really help them. So we don't really look for one thing necessarily. It really is about the fit. And I think the big thing, again, like the student said, it's very personalized. So we will walk you through the steps. I'm on info sessions every day, whether it's Zoom, phone calls, emails, and just talk about the program and make sure it's the right fit.
And I'm so glad that Ikenna mentioned that it's almost like we're hand selecting, because that's exactly what we're doing in our admissions committee. And I know that that is strikingly different than other competitive business schools. We really do look at professional and personal characteristics. We want good team players, candidates who are going to come in and immediately collaborate, and candidates who are going to come in and truly own our brand. Josh and I are both alumni of William and Mary, so we are very biased that our legacy continues and that the strength of William and Mary is very strong heading into the future. So we welcome you to work with us directly through the research process or through the application process, and any of our alumni will immediately stop what they're doing to answer your questions as well. So we strongly encourage you to consider William and Mary, and we definitely march to the beat of our own drum.
And people who are interested, are they welcome to visit campus, or do you do virtual tours these days, considering COVID has changed things?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, Eric, we are so excited that Josh and I are about to embark on a whirlwind recruiting tour. We'll be traveling throughout the United States in the month of July, and then into August, we will venture into Latin America. We'll get back into the South Asian markets and the European and UK markets in September. So we are very excited to be back on the road, first and foremost. And then beyond that, yes, of course, we are happy to set up individualized virtual calls. We'll have some webinars coming up throughout the year. And of course, we're always available by email or to link you to an alumnus of the program. But we're very, very happy to help. And we hope to see you in a variety of ways this upcoming season.
Awesome. Bara, did you want to ask the next one?
Well, I'm curious for both what the alums have to say and also staff here, that as part of career services, that MBA programs have multiple strategies to get their students face time with companies throughout their experience. So this could be company visits, internships, consulting projects, other things. So what experiences are you able to offer, and what experiences did the alumni have, and what was the impact of this?
I can go ahead here. There's a variety of different ways that you sort of get face time with potential employers. But when you first enter William and Mary, you have a session with the career services so that they get a feel for what you want to do. And when a company comes across their desk or vice versa that you're interested in, they will personally reach out to you. So their door is always open, and they also have a weekly or monthly newsletter that has all of the hot jobs that are specifically recruiting William and Mary students. And within the first 6 months or so of being there, I think there was a KPMG, a variety of different info sessions with and JP Morgan, who Andrew can speak about. They start recruiting pretty early on. So if you're able to take advantage of those info sessions, and if you're interested in those companies, that's primarily put on by career services. And additionally, I know from personal experience, they helped me with interviewing because I was doing a case interview style. So they were practicing with me at least once a week for months on that. So they were very helpful.
Super important. Who else has comments about career services?
Yeah, career services does a lot of things like Leah was saying, but I think another embedded part of the program that works with career services is, like you mentioned before, we do a lot of work with companies as a part of classes. So for example, in your second year, you'll do a CAM, and depending on what your specialization is, I think it stands for Career Accelerated Module or something like that, but it's a full-time class that you take, and usually it involves working directly with a company while you're studying this class. And so, I did the marketing CAM, and we basically did like a marketing consulting project for a company called Neurostar. I think it's Neuronetics Inc. Don't check their stock price, because I'm not sure if they're doing well or bad. I haven't kept up. But what I do know is that we spent 6 weeks studying, a transition that they were trying to make in terms of their branding and then their product placement, both here domestically as well as internationally. And it involved a crazy amount of research, some serious like hands-on strategy and working through some challenges with the team, and then presenting all that information and our recommendations to their C-suite, including their CEO. And that was all facilitated through a personal relationship with the professor, right? And so I think each CAM and a lot of different classes have similar exposure opportunities. And that's just another way to get your face in front of, Fortune 500s, in front of companies, get the experience, and also get that career accelerating exposure.
Thank you.
I guess I'll touch on the alumni part, but one thing that was nice when I was doing the JP Morgan is that they did an info session with alumni that are still there or did work there. And I don't know if I wouldn't call it a partnership, but I think the relationship between William Mary and JP Morgan has been very good. We've had about 2 to 4 people do the program I'm entering into. So it was just nice to meet people that are either in the program, have finished the program, or maybe left, but what their thoughts were, where they lived, what they kind of took away and where they are now. So that was just a nice thing, is that William & Mary put on that info session very early our first year. So it helped with the interview process even before you got to the final interview.
Yeah, I think for me, it was the fact that right at the beginning, from the summer startup we had with our career advisor, they work with you to build your resume in a way that suits your career path and highlights the key achievements you made. So you have this consultation session with your career advisor, and they walk you through the different ways you can actually achieve what you're going for. And then when you even start to get in all these interview invites, they work with you to prep you for interviews. I know I had multiple sessions with my career advisor whilst I was interviewing with different companies. And this was even at the very early stages of the program, because I kind of secured my position really early. And they started working with me right at the beginning. So they have very hands-on career advising session. And then also part of the classes, you have different companies that come in to speak to students, just like Augie mentioned. We had CEOs come present to us in certain classes. And after those classes, some of these people kind of connect with students and try to keep in touch with them and offer them career opportunities as well. So there are different multiple avenues through which students get face time with companies.
And Eric, I know you've been in the industry as long as I have, and it can be complicated for MBA candidates who are making a career change. But I would confidently say that the William & Mary MBA program is an ideal program for career changers, because there are so many support systems in place, from the pre-summer startup program to the required graduate career management course that these students take, to the support from a dedicated advisor, work with our executive partners. It all comes together really nicely. So this is a great environment for career changers, a very supportive system here.
It sounds like it. Well, that said, I wanted to ask the alumni, what was the hardest part of the program for you guys, or the biggest challenge you faced, and what did you gain from that experience looking back? I'm kind of curious how you've changed as a professional because of this experience at William & Mary.
All right,
You go.
I'll take the first out. I think the hardest part for me, it really was time, keeping a good balance with time management. I started a startup while I was in the program, and in one of the very first onboarding meetings that you have, our wonderful and very, very helpful, program director, her name is Carlene. Carlene says, and I think the quote was, "This is a full-time MBA. We expect you to be working on your coursework full-time. Nobody should be employed." And I remember I leaned back and I was like, well, we got to do things, right? And so, but she was right. The coursework and the demand on you as a student is there to challenge you and push you to be, the best version of yourself. And that's the point of the MBA. But there's still other things, and plenty of people worked and pursued other passions along the way. And so the hardest part was keeping a balance between the workload that we were given and trying to run my own business and start that and really do my own thing at the same time. And I would say that, that adversity, similar to what I faced as a student athlete in undergrad, helped me, help push me to now I feel like I can handle multiple challenges at once and not worry about having to put out fires everywhere. So it's a question.
You were all rock stars, so I'm kind of not surprised that you did it. Do you want to tell a little bit about your startup?
Yeah, so I started a company called STG Visions that does computer vision analytics of athletes. And so basically we came up with software that lets us analyze video and pull out athlete biometric data, in a protected fashion, and that we then in turn provided as an analysis service to collegiate recruiting departments mostly, but also attempted to provide it as a college coaching tool as well, similar to how Catapult Sports works with their GPSs, for example. But so in summary, I'd say the hardest part of the program is they're going to challenge you with strong workload, and that's to help improve your skills. And if you want to, bring on other projects, which if you're at the William Mary MBA, you're an ambitious person who's probably working on all kinds of crazy things on the side. You got to be able to manage your time and do that effectively.
That is super cool. And absolutely, time management, I think, is one of those soft skills that comes up time and time again when we talk about what does an MBA teach you. That's definitely one of them, and it's not easy. Who else?
I'll go ahead. The most difficult part for me was, as Amanda mentioned, I was looking to make a pivot in my career trajectory. So I had been in supply chain in a very operational role, and I wanted to move more toward finance, which is what I concentrated in. And so it was like speaking a completely different language when I first started, and it was a little overwhelming. But I think what was really helpful was, because of the diversity within our cohort, I was able to lean on other students who knew this stuff backwards, forwards, and could help break it down for me. But I think it has provided me with a really awesome toolkit to be able to speak the language of businesses and their profitability and what's really important to them when it comes to the financial side of how to run a business. And I think that's pretty vital if you want to go far in your career. So I'm really, really glad that I feel a lot more confident now with this language per se. So yeah, the focus on real business targets and metrics, that part was really helpful, just learning that and learning how my fellow students did it in their internships and their jobs, and then applying that to our case studies and classes.
I mean, one of you spoke earlier about how the different challenges that you went through throughout the year or 2 years is part of what helped build those bonds and connections with you. It's what makes a strong alumni network, but it's also the sharing, right? Like, Leah, you were able to learn that from other people who were stronger and more experienced, and I'm sure you taught people things that you're stronger at. So that's a real give and take part of it. That, again, it's about the people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think for me, it was in my first year, just trying to understand and balance out participating in class. Because I came into the class and I'm sitting in the midst of a bunch of very intelligent students. I felt like a fish out of the water. I had this huge imposter syndrome. I would rarely speak in class. However, part of our grading system included participation. So you have to participate, right? But I didn't know this, but I kind of figured it out later. And the program there's a particular class we took in the first session A in the first year, called the Principled Professional, and also the Communications class, where we dealt with, you have open conversation. And in one of the sessions, they talked about imposter syndrome. And I discovered that literally almost every single one of my classmates was having the same thing I was going through. So it helped me realize that every single person who's a high achiever and excels in whatever they do have some sort of imposter syndrome, and it doesn't ever go away. So what I learned to do is how to manage it and not hide just because I feel inadequate. However, embrace it and try to be the better version of myself. That was one key thing that was challenging for me when I started. And I think I was able to build on it as I grew in the program, and I would say I'm kind of better off for it right now.
And Eric, as you can see, I have the world's most humble MBA candidates, because if anyone on this video screen felt like they wouldn't immediately contribute, I'm shocked. But they are all incredibly wonderful and humble. But we do take them through very meaningful growth and leadership development exercises. But Ikenna and the team here, we're so proud to have each and every one of you in this program.
What's amazing about that is that it really, yeah, well, that just really helps people professionally, but also personally, right? The skills that you're talking about just enrich your whole experience, not just academically and professionally, but like who you are in the relationships, and really being able to have insight and introspection on where you're at and the stories that you tell yourself, and realize, oh, those are old tapes playing. those don't actually serve me anymore. Or what is it trying to tell me about myself? And look how far I've come, right? So it sounds like you guys are really creating that culture, which I think is a mark of a really good educational experience. We've touched on this a little bit because students, do spend a small fortune doing an MBA, and they want to know what their ROI is. And so, what about careers? Some of you have said, we've got a startup person here, someone who's going into finance, but what about William & Mary has led you to landing your new jobs? Like, what is it about the program that you feel contributed directly to that happening, or indirectly?
I'll go ahead here. I think for starters, there are opportunities at companies that are really only for MBAs. So just having the MBA puts you in a category above a lot of other applicants. And with that being said, William Mary specifically gets recruited by a handful, or obviously more than a handful, but specific companies that going into the program, there will be an ROI that is significant enough to make that investment. And that was something that was really important to me, because I knew I would be going back to New York City, very expensive place to live. I had a great job that I was coming from, but I knew this is a step I wanted to take. And I made that choice very confident that the ROI would be there, and it was.
That's reassuring.
And that also really helps with the confidence there, is speaking to alums and asking them what they're doing, and really being transparent and open with them, saying, these are what my goals are. This is what I'm looking for. And they can tell you what everyone accomplished after they graduated. And you get to see how far people are going that came from the William Mary MBA program. So it helps with that, obviously difficult decision of taking some time away from your career. It really is towards your career, but putting an investment into something like that.
How does the alumni piece work? Are there formal events or services that exist specifically for alumni and for connections between alumni and current students or recent alumni?
Well, I know there are events we had, mostly on Zoom our first year, but I think we saw it more and more later our second year, this past year, with alumni actually coming in person. I'm not going to even try to pronounce his name, but this store in Canada came to speak to us one night. But you'll see them come to campus more and more with COVID restrictions kind of, going down, month by month. But most of them were via Zoom for us, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, we are very intentional about alumni engagement. COVID definitely set us back a little bit, so we had to rely on virtual engagement. But over the weekend, we hosted our MBA alumni reunion, and we were able to bring in Stephanie Lenartz from the class of '97, who's the president of Marriott, and we were able to bring in Navdeep Gupta from the class of 2002, who is the CFO of Dick's Sporting Goods. And so that that weekend that we just celebrated brought in over 300 alumni, and it will kick off the re-engagement of our executive in residence and our alumni engagement points for the upcoming academic year. Typically, we are very active in not only bringing business into the business school, but bringing William and Mary alumni back into the business school.
Always a good sign that you have satisfied customers, satisfied alums, satisfied grads. Like, they're grateful and they want to give back and they want to re-engage, you know? So you've created something great there, I believe.
Very quickly, the one thing, man, I forgot to say or didn't forget to say, but I'll add, is this weekend, you know, it starts right away, meaning we had about 20 incoming MBAs that joined for the alumni weekend. So yes, it was alumni weekend. That's what it was all about. But we want to introduce our incoming students right away to the traditions, to the history, and ultimately to the networking. So we were very grateful that about 20 showed up before they even start the program. So it kicks off right away.
I was lucky enough to run into some of these incoming MBAs and the alumni over the weekend. It was a great time. I'm still in Williamsburg, so I see Josh and Amanda around while they're running their recruiting events.
All right, so we're getting down to kind of the end of the program. We're 50 minutes in. It's a little bit long, but it's okay. I want to ask just two more questions. First of all, what's in store for William and Mary in the future? Any new projects or initiatives or anything coming up that we want to be just as excited as you guys are about?
Well, I can certainly pick up from a staff perspective. We are actually in a new dean search here at William and Mary, which is an exciting and bittersweet time for us. Our dean of over 24 years, Dean Larry Poley, is retiring. We know that he'll remain active with the William and Mary School of Business, but we're searching for a new dean. And with that comes opportunity and new innovation. We're very excited for what's on the horizon. We've also doubled down on resources for graduate career management and growing out our centers of excellence. So Augie, I'm very happy to promote the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center. I know Professor Henshaw has some wonderful new programming that will happen again now that we are getting further away from COVID. And then additionally, new centers like the Center for Military Transition and Transition opening. So a lot of good innovation, and we're all anxiously awaiting the announcement of our new business school dean.
Nice. Anything else? Well, I guess my last question is it right if we share that application code for the fee waiver? Yeah, hold on. Should be.
Yes, so for all of our viewers, Eric is sharing an application fee waiver code, and the code is evergreen, so you can use it in this upcoming application cycle or for a future term. The code is William and Mary, so WM MBA 1966. We invite you to apply, and we hope that you are encouraged by all the information that was shared today.
Thanks, Amanda. You should see that right at the bottom of your screen right now. So that about wraps it up for me. Bara, any more questions on your side?
No, but it sounds so exciting. I kind of want to go over to check out the campus. I love when I see new buildings and old buildings together. I love that eclectic, and it sounds like you have that, which is really lovely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is William and Mary. And as you can see at the bottom of your screen, if you want to connect with their admissions team, that's Amanda and Josh. You can see their email is right there at the bottom of your screen, admissions@mason.wm.edu. You can schedule a virtual info session, campus visit, or meeting near you if travel permits. So I want to thank all of our panelists today. It's been awesome. It's fun, kind of wild having so many people. So thank you all of you, and congratulations on graduating from such a obviously fantastic program, and also for the great new jobs that you guys have, and super excited for you all.
Thank you.
Go Tribe. Go Tribe.
Absolutely. And don't forget to join us next week for MBA Waves. As always, Tuesday. You can find the whole program schedule at mbawaves.com. And that's all for me. I'm signing off. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.